Hello everybody, welcome to a new tutorial from Sound for More. It's Leo speaking. Today I'm going to show you how you can create a simple sequencer inside Audulus 4. Just a very basic one, otherwise the tutorial will be way too long. Before I continue, I would like to remind my viewers to subscribe as it helps with growing the channel. Thank you very much. I have to say that this tutorial might be a little bit more complicated than the one we have seen so far, and I'm going to introduce some new concept as well, but hopefully you can follow through, particularly if you went through the tutorials already created. Okay, I have created a new empty patch, and what I'm going to do is to go to the module category and drag and drop a slider. The reason I want to drag and drop a slider is because I want to show you that you can use a slider to change the notes of a sequencer for different steps. Now, let's go to the meter category and drag and drop a value node. Let's connect it. And as you can see, as you move the slider up and down, the value goes from 0 up to 1. Okay? So, let's go to the math category and let's drag and drop an expression node. Let's select that and go to the inspector panel. Now, what I want to do is for the slider to give me notes starting from 60, which is a C4, up to, for example, 72 in terms of adding 12 semitones. So what I'm going to do in the expression node, I'm going to take the input, in this case I call it X, okay, I'm going to multiply that by 12, and then I'm going to add 60, okay? And if I connect now the slider to the expression node and then also the output of that expression node to the value node, you can see as I move up and down, it goes from 60 up to 72. So that works perfectly. Now, there is a slight problem that because we have a decimal point as well, and that is not good, particularly if we want to send those values to a MIDI processor. So here in the formula, we're going to enclose our calculation within the function flow, which will round down the value, which is within brackets. So as you can see now, it goes from 60 to 72, but it increments by 1 in a rounded way. Okay? And that is practically the start of a slider which represents MIDI notes. Now, that slider is a little bit empty on its own, and it would be very good if you could, if we could show the name of the note. So how do we do that? Well, let's go again to meter, and you find a new node called Canvas here. Drag and drop it. Now, as you can see, it shows this nice circle with a gradient inside. So select the canvas and go to the inspector panel. And this is where you can see the Lua language. And this tutorial is not going to explain all the Lua language, but I'm going to show you something and how to use it from a basic point of view. So if it's where it says here 50, for example, you can change that to 50 to 25. And you change the radius of that circle. So as you can see, it's an interpreted language, very quick to actually execute. So let's select everything and delete, okay? Up here you find the input. Let's click on that and type, actually a lowercase because it's sensitive to that. Let's type, or actually note that's fine with the N uppercase. Okay, but just remember that is case sensitive. So as I type enter, we have an input variable called note, okay? And as you can see, it has appeared here, okay? So we can now connect the output of that expression node where we have note values in terms of MIDI going from 60 to 72, driven by this slider, to the Canvas node. Okay, perfect. Now, let's use a little bit of the Canvas node. If you scroll down, you find the list of all functions as well, which is really good. And you find one in particular, which is called text, which allows you to print something and then also give it a color and also alpha in terms of transparency. So let's use that. So what we can do, we can type if the note variable or input, I should say, is equal, and you need to type twice equal to 60, then what we are going to do, we're going to type the variable, we're going to call the function text. We're going to print C4, and then we are going to print in color 100 and 100 in terms of red, green, amber, which will make a yellow color. And then the alpha, we're going to set it to 100 in terms of transparency. And then I close everything and I type end. As I type end, it shows a C4 down here. That is exactly what I want. And that's because I have a value of 60 coming out from the slider. Okay. Of course, as I move this up, that C4 disappears. And as I move it down, it appears again. So let me also scroll at the very bottom here, and let's expose this because I'm going to include that into a module. And let's change also the size. And let's select something like 9 horizontally, and also something like maybe like that, 11. And you can see it's quite centered like that. Okay, let's introduce a few more nodes for that slider so it becomes a little bit more useful. But of course, I'm not going to cover the entire 12 semitones. So what we can do is type else if. So what it means is if the node is equal to 60, then print C4 with this color. Otherwise, else if the node is equal again 61, then, and you type text again, and you repeat, but you change, of course, the node. In this case, is C#4. Okay? And then, of course, I repeat the color unless I want to change it, of course. Okay? So if I've done all of that correctly, as I move the slider up, it goes to C#4. Really nice. Now, what I can do is select this part of the formula and copy it for the number, for all the nodes I want to create. So we're going to create, for example, a D4, a D4 and then a D#4 as well. Why not? So we are going to then change these to 62, right? Because that will be the next node value. This one will be 63. And this value will become D4 and this one D#4. Okay, let's test it. So we start from C4, C#4, D4, D#4. You can see the nodes changing there. Perfect. This is working extremely well. Now, let's start to make it a little bit more attractive. First of all, we go to the module category and we create an output. Okay, and we connect it to the output of that expression because I want to have that value of the node coming out as a module to connect it to something else. Now I'm going to select absolutely everything there and I'm going to group it. Okay, and that is my new grouping there. So let's reorganize a little bit the interface to make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, and so let's try like that. And as we move down, you can see the nodes are appearing there. Now let's make it a little bit prettier than this because it's still not very well aligned. So maybe we move these back there, and then remove the snap into grid, something like this, and then something like that, perhaps. And of course, that will change as the values change. Okay, so that's what we have. So really nice, isn't it? Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do now is, and of course, you can continue to enter more nodes up to, to cover the 12 semitones, but this just give you an idea as, this will be one step of the sequencer where I can actually change my nodes up here. The next one, which I would be adding, would be E4, then F4, etc., etc. But to keep the tutorial short, let's continue like only with those nodes. So we select that and we copy it. And then what we are going to do, we are going to paste it 3 more times, like so. And the reason we are doing that is because in doing so, we are going to have effectively 4 different steps, right? So which could go from C, then the next one would be C#4, the next one might be D4, and then the last one to D#4. Really, really nice indeed. Okay, so what I like to do as well is to group them all. So we're going to do select them all, group them again, As you can see, there's nothing selected because we need to go back inside and then select each one of them, go to the inspector and expose each one of them like so. Right, and when we finished exposing them all, like so, if we go now out to that module, you can see they're all appearing there. Now let's zoom in a little bit more. We're going to snap the grid and change now the UI to make it a little bit prettier. So something like this. Right. Nice. So that's starting to look more like the UI of what could be a sequencer. Now, how do we make it work? Well, first of all, we need to find a way to move from one step to the next and repeat the cycle. So how do we do that? First of all, we need to create a counter which goes from 1 to 4 for the 4 steps. And actually, we need to start from 0. And I'll explain that in a moment. So from 0 to 3. So count 0, 1, 2, 3, which will be 4 different steps. So we have seen how to use under the synth category the phasor. So that's what we are going to actually use. So we drag also an expression node and we connect that to the frequency and we set the frequency of that phasor to 1/4. And the reason for that is because we have 4 steps and I will ensure that therefore there will be 1 step per actually second, as you will hear in a moment. Next, we drag an expression after an expression node after the phasor, and we're going to select that. And we're going to start to type a formula. So we know that the value coming in, if I divided that by 2 times pi, like so, and I connect it, like so, I can use a meter value node to check what is coming out from that phasor, and you will see it goes up to 1. So from 0 to 1. So if I select that expression node again, if I multiply that by 4 step, like so, it will go up, it will go from 0, 1, 2, and 3 up to 4. Now what I can do is then surround these by the floor function, which will round down the value, okay? And as you can see, it's going from 0, 1, 2, 3, as you can see, up here, so one count per second. And this is our counter now. Really nice. Now, how do we implement this counter to move through the different steps? Well, first of all, what we need to do, just for making it cleaner, let's go to the module and let's insert an output here, okay? And let's connect that output to the expression node, okay? And then let's also go to utility here and insert text like so. And inside the text, and let's go to the inspector panel and let's type counter like so, okay? And we are going to expose that as well. And we are going to drag this so that we show that text node. Now let's select everything here, but not, of course, these sliders. And let's group it. Now, let's move these up here and let's change a little bit of the UI, like so. Perfect. And now we have this nice new module counter, which will count from 0 to 4. And again, if you want to test that, go to meter, add another value node and connect it, and you can see it will go from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, really, really nice. Okay, you can leave that. I use value nodes almost like debuggers. Okay, next, if you go to switch, category switch, we're going to introduce a new module, the MUX here. Let's drag and drop. And if you know how the MUX works, then you know how the other one, the DMux, work as well. The multiplier works because it's the opposite, really. So the way it works is you accept an input here, where it says cell for selection. So you can put the counter here. And when this value is 0, it takes what is coming into the input 0 and it allows for that input to go to the output. When the selection is 1, it takes what is in input 1 and it allows that input to go out to the output. So let's select that MUX node, and let's increase the number of channel here to actually 4. Four there. Right, let's connect all our nodes now, like so. You can see where we are going, hopefully. Okay, and now let's take that value node here and let's input it here. And you can see that it's moving from 60, 61, 62, 63, which are the values which are coming from here, from the slider. Right, really, really nice. Now, if we want to send this out to a MIDI device, let's go to the MIDI category. We have already seen how the Nodes Send Node works. So let's take that MIDI node here and coming out from the MUX node and connect it to the node input of the Nodes Send Node. Then let's go to the MUF expression, drag and drop another expression node and connect it to the velocity here. And let's set that expression to something, for example, like 60. And that will be my velocity for all the nodes going out. Now, so far so good, but what we are missing is a gate signal. So how do we create a gate signal? Again, let's go to the synth module. Let's use the Phasor node, which let's create effectively a pulse waveform, which is something that I showed before when I done a tutorial on Phasor. So let's drag and drop an expression node connected for the frequency. Okay, and we're going to set the frequency to be effectively 1. The reason that we're going setting to 1 is because we want 1 gate per second. Okay, perfect. So next we're going to take the expression node again here. We are going to select it and we're going to write x greater than pi. And when that is the case, it will send a value of true, which will be on its output, which means that we'll have our gate signal. So let's connect the expression node to the Phasor, like so. And then let's connect these, well, actually, let's connect it to, yes, to the gate, like so. And if you want to test it again, take that these expression node output and connect it to the value here. And you can see it goes 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, which is actually my gate. Okay. Now, if I want to make things a little bit cleaner, again, I remove that gate connection. I go to my module and insert an output node like that, and I connect it to the output of the expression node, like so. Then what I do, I select everything which is in here, like so, and I group it again, and I go inside that again, and I go to utility, and I drag and drop a text, and I select that text node, I go to the inspector panel, and I call that gate. Okay, like so. Okay, so if I exit at the module, actually I should have exposed the gate, so the text gate, so I expose it like that. Okay, then I come out from that module. Now I can rearrange this gate in terms of UI, like so. And then when I've done that, I'm going to connect the gate to output here to the gate input of this node send. Right. Okay. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything here and group it again. Here we have a nice module. Let's go back inside it. Let's select these the slide bars module. Let's expose that again and let's come out. Right, there it is. So I'm inside the standalone version of Audulus, and now I go up here in this menu where it says More, and I'm going to choose the MIDI output device from Network Session to Module Pro from Korg, which is already running in the background. And as you can hear, is sending out nodes. And let me show you now that I'm going to change the sliders. You will hear that the nodes are changing based on the selection that I have in the sliders. So let me show you. Okay, and this is a simple sequencer, right? So I know I explained a lot of concept in this video, but hopefully you followed through. And of course, if you find it difficult to follow it through, go back to previous tutorial. And if you want to increase the number of steps, for example, well, double click to go inside, right? And then what you will have to do is to change the number of channels here on the MUX node here. Then you will have to change the counter as well here, right? Because at this moment is ensuring that you have, it counts up to 4, and you have here the frequency, which is 1/4. Okay, so you'll have to change that as well. And then of course, you might want to change the gate or not, depending up to you. And of course, you could expose dials and other controls to change the counter and to change the gate as well. So you could ultimately change or add controls here to the final view of that small sequencer. And of course, you remember, you also having to go inside this sequencer group and then change each one of those to add the additional nodes, right? Because at the moment it's going only up to D#4. So you have to go inside each one of them, then select the canvas, go to the inspector and add additional nodes here. And then of course, because I copy and pasted, you have to repeat that for all the others. But when you have done them all, then you can paste it 8, 10 times, whatever many steps you actually want to do. Of course, this is working on the standalone version, but you can now select this, copy it, then I go to AUM, for example, create an instance of Audulus 4 as a MIDI processor, and then you can attach any audio source you like inside an audio channel, and then paste these small sequencer inside Audulus, the MIDI processor, and then do the right connection. And I showed that in a previous tutorial how to use that. And what you will find is that you have your own small sequencer working inside the UM as an AOV3. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I realize I explained a lot of different concepts in this video. I hope you enjoyed, and as always, see you next time. Bye.